Hello race fans, welcome to another video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Currently on the road to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so every little bit of your support helps towards helping me achieve that goal. Today we will be talking about the Cup Nashville race that happened on Sunday. This was the last race before the in-season challenge portion of the season begins. This is year one of NASCAR doing this, and of course you wouldn't know it because no one has ever mentioned it, although to be fair it was too early in the season. I feel as we're approaching the summer, we will start seeing more mention, promos, and buzz about it. The Prime broadcast, to their credit, they kind of mentioned it the week prior in the 600, so I feel like this is going to be a topic to follow throughout the next couple of races. But just know that after this race, the top 32 drivers in points, they will qualify for the in-season challenge or in-season tournament or $1 million bracket challenge, whatever you want to call it. Entering the race, the 4 men out were Cody Ware, Cole Custer, and the 2 rookies, Riley Herbst and SVG. And a little spoiler alert, because nothing at the bottom of the standings changed. Yeah, those 4 guys would stay out and wouldn't be eligible for the $1 million sweepstakes. So, from there, the following 3 races will be all about setting up the bracket. And the way it will be set will be by the highest finish a driver gets in those 3 sitting races. Sort of confusing, but in simple terms, if you win one of the 3 races, you're automatically guaranteed at least a top 3 seed, to my understanding, depending on who the 2 winners are, of course. There will be ties all throughout the field, obviously, but the tiebreaker is pretty straightforward. Whoever is highest in points after the 3 seeding races are over gets the higher seed. So from all this, you can already tell the matchups are going to be pretty interesting. Again, as always, NASCAR, they just don't know how to work things in such a way that the average person understands it, but I like to think I did a good job explaining how the whole bracket seeding process goes to the rest of my ability. But anyways, on to the race. Unfortunately, I was spot on with my prediction that this race would be pretty mediocre. After all, Nashville is a very hard track to pass, and we saw that throughout the entire weekend. And at this point, we know what's up with the Gen 7. So, suffice it to say, it was a recipe for disaster, but hey, at least the race didn't evolve into the wreckfest we saw last year, even if there was a point in Stage 2 where we thought that might be the case. And we saw some passing under green, not just on restarts and in the short run, but also in the long run, even if said passing was due to the leaders being unable to get around lap traffic, which bunched them up together. So again, this race was mediocre, but it had its moments. Stage 1 ended with a battle between the pole sitter Chase Briscoe and his teammate Denny Hamlin, who started alongside him in the front row. Denny Hamlin making his 700th Cup start, by the way, just 1 week after Jimmy Johnson made his 700th. I wasn't even aware Hamlin was creeping up to that number, but I guess that really puts into perspective his longevity and how quick times had gone by. But yeah, he and Briscoe started 1-2 pretty much the whole way, and even through green flag pit stops, they cycled back 1-2. But as the stage came to a close, they started coming up to lap traffic. This bunched them up and even brought Tyler Reddick along, turning it into a 3-car battle for the lead. Maybe 4-car battle if you want to count William Byron. But Hamlin ended up winning, and Reddick even managed to take second away from Briscoe. Briscoe would never recover from this, as a combination of slow stops and bad restarts sent him back to the middle of the pack, where he would stay for the rest of the race, finishing 17th. It wouldn't be smooth sailing for Hamlin, however, as Stage 2, or at least the first half of Stage 2, was plagued with wrecks that continually bunched up the field and shuffled track position around. And adding to the chaos, I believe the leaders made a pit stop for fuel during one of those cautions. So yeah, it was at this point where I thought the race would devolve into 2024 Part 2, but thankfully after around lap 130, 135, the field got it together and we got a clean race pretty much the rest of the way. Only 2 cautions after that, one for the stage end, and then another one early in stage 3 for spin by Ryan Preece. And this allowed for stage 2 to end with yet another amazing battle for the lead. This time between Blaney, Hamlin, and William Byron. That battle was the highlight of the race, bar none. They spent 4 to 5 laps swapping positions between each other. No lap traffic to affect the air around them. They were even 3 wide at one point. And when it looked like Byron was about to clear for the lead, he gets a tad bit tight in 1 and 2. And this causes him and Hamlin, who was to his outside, to wash up the track just a little bit, leaving the door open for Blaney to get by both of them for the lead. And because we know how good of a long run car he has, like he's always had all season long, he pulls away with the quickness and wins stage 2. You also gotta remember, Blaney never pitted for 4 tires during stage 2, or at least I believe he didn't. He was only on 2 tires for pretty much the entire stage. And that battling he did with the 24 and D11 for the lead, yep, that was on 2 tires as well. Sadly, like I said, you wouldn't see anything of the sort during stage 3, even though the race ended on a 100 lap green flag run, which was a bit disappointing considering the awesome battle we had to end the previous long green flag run. But we did see movement throughout the field still, even if the winner was pretty much a lock. But congrats to Ryan Blaney regardless. I've said it before and I'll say it again, probably the best driver at making passes in traffic with this Gen 7 car, especially in the long run. No surprise he was able to manage the gap and keep it consistent, even with dirty air from the lap cars coming from everywhere. And he finally closed out one of these races. We know how fast he's been, and with the speed he's showed, you could argue he should have had at the very least like 3 wins so far. So it's really great for him to finally close out one of these races. And Penske as a whole, they really showed speed in this race. All 3 of them ran top 5 at one point, and they all scored stage points throughout the race. Austin Cindric may have faded back in the end, finishing 18th. But Joey Logano, he finished 4th, and he looked really competitive overall. Another guy that really caught my attention, Carson Hocevar, started 26. He didn't make up much ground during stage 1, but due to the chaos that was stage 2, he managed to gain a number of positions. That being said, he did play a part in said chaos, as around lap 105, 106, I think, he made contact with Ricky Stenhouse entering turn 3, which wrecked him out of the race. Stenhouse was not too happy about it, and while I do agree he kinda left the door open for Hocevar to make a move, it's still pretty early in the race to be sending it into the corner that deep, so Ricky's frustration was pretty understandable in that situation, especially since him finishing dead last puts him below the cut line now, 6 points back, ironically behind Hocevar. That being said, and I believe Jeff Gluck tweeted about this, and I do agree with him the more I think about it, people are starting to give Hocevar the Ross Chastain treatment. If you remember, there was a point back in 2022 up until early 23 where Chastain was getting tons of hate thrown his way for just even being in the vicinity of a wreck, and fans wouldn't give him, or were reluctant to give him, the benefit of the doubt on every single incident that he got involved in. I think we're starting to see a lot of this sentiment towards Carson Hocevar now, which is pretty sad, by the way, even though there are some moments he just can't explain away. And yes, the guy has even pissed me off a couple times, I'll admit. But when you look past that, he is an absolute wheelman with an awesome personality off the track. I mentioned earlier how he was above Stenhouse in the standings after this race, and Stenhouse is only 6 points back. Carson, he's only 4 points back. He's in the thick of the playoff hunt, driving a Spire Motorsports entry, a car that should be running 25th. And he's not only competing for top 20s, he's competing for wins and top 10s too. And tonight was no different, because after his incident with Stenhouse, he went on to finish 7th in stage 2. And after picking up a couple more spots in the last cycle of green flag stops, he finished 2nd, right ahead of Denny Hamlin. I'm just gonna say it right now, if he didn't have that terrible luck he had earlier in the season, I'm pretty sure he would be well above the cut line, even possibly top 10 in points. No joke. That's just how good he's been, even if his average finish won't do him full justice. Another driver that really caught my attention was Eric Jones. He started mid-pack, but he gradually went from a top 15 to a top 10 car. Spent a good part of the race in top 5 too. In the end, coming home with a 7th place finish. Maybe the best race we have seen out of Jones this season. And good thing too, because I was expecting him to be kind of like the torchbearer for Legacy Motor Club this season. So far it has been John Hunter, but it's good to see the 43 start to show signs of life as we enter the summer stretch of the season. And it was a tough call between him and Holsafar, but in the end, I'll give driver of the day to that Jones boy. Great job by that 43 bunch in finally putting a complete race together. Other drivers that caught my attention, Bubba Wallace finished 6th after a speeding penalty on the first green flag pit cycle in stage 1 that put him a lap down. He did eventually get the free pass during that messy second stage, and from there he started moving back up through the field. A great recovery too, because the 23 team, they were coming off 3 straight DNFs, being just caught up in crashes, wrong place at the wrong time. Kyle Larson, similar to Bubba, he didn't have the best start of his race. He qualified deep in the field, I believe around 28th, and he got a hard time making up ground. I believe he washed up turns 1 and 2 early on, and that's why he dropped all the way back to, I believe he ran as low as 35th at one point. He didn't fall a lap down, but he was very close to at the end of stage 1. As a matter of fact, he was the lap car that was holding up the leaders at the end of stage 1, so he might have cost Chase Briscoe that stage win at the very end, just saying. He didn't gain much ground during stage 2, I think. I do think he spent most of that stage outside the top 20 as well. But by stage 3, he finally got some track position with a couple good restarts. He managed to creep back up into the top 10 and finish 8th. Another driver that managed to salvage a top 10 run, Christopher Bell, ran top 5 early on, up there with his Toyota teammates. Spent most of stage 1 and part of stage 2 fighting with Tyler Reddick for position. But he was one of those drivers, like Stenhouse. Bell got snake bit in that flurry of cautions after he pinched Eric Jones down into the apron, entering turn 1 on a restart. And the 43 held his lane, made contact, and spun the 20 out. He hit the wall pretty hard with the rear end of the car too, in a very similar way to how he wrecked last year. So I thought he was done for, and I had picked them to win this race too, so you can imagine my disappointment. But to their credit, the 20 bunch made the necessary repairs, got him back out on the lead lap, and he managed to bounce back and finish 10th after battling with Ross Chastain and once again Tyler Reddick in the closing laps. So great salvaging effort by the 20 team. Could have been a top 5 with the speed they showed, but all things considered, I'll take a top 10. Zane Smith finished 13th. I remember seeing him run top 10 in stage 2 and score some stage points. Gotta remember he finished 2nd at this race last year. Cole Custer finished 19th, but it's worth mentioning he ran top 15 for a good part of the race, and that 41 team is finally showing up despite being ineligible for the $1 million bracket challenge. It may not be much, but 3 top 20s in the last 5 races after they had none in the first quarter of the season is a significant turnaround. And finally, Corey Heim. Like Cole Custer, he ran top 15, top 20 for most of the race, or at least most of the time he was running. I believe he made it as high as 12 before he wrecked out, because he was also a casualty of the stage 2 calamity after he got into it with Keselowski coming off turn 4. He tried to clear himself off the 6th car, and I don't know if it was him or his spotter who gave him the clear, but he spun off his nose, came back up the track, and hit the wall hard with the right rear. So yeah, disappointing end to his race, but once again, he ran as high as 12 at one point, and he was like a top 15 car, top 20 car all throughout. He showed he's more than ready to move on from the truck series. So, overall, for an uneventful race, there was plenty to talk about. Again, the race had its moments, even if most of it was just the leaders unable to get by lap traffic, because this Gen 7 is near undrivable on dirty air. But if you ask me, I enjoyed this race more than last year's Wreckfest. I'm 100% taking a race like this over whatever the fuck we had last year, dirty air and all. So because of that, I'm giving this race a C+. Could have been a C, but I found out the race had plenty of moments that really caught my attention and made it not as uneventful as I thought it was. So I'll give it a C plus because that's just the highest it goes. And that's all I have for today. Again, like, comment, and sub. Share this video if you liked it. Please help me reach 1K before the end of the year. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next race.